guys have been in the sweet spot. Nvidia is the top holding in the tech fund, or the select tech portfolio, and we had a long discussion about how long their advantage can last. You think there is more runway to go?
I think we're early in AI, especially generative AI. So I think that's the key thing you need to be thinking about here. And this is a company that's been working on AI for 10 plus years. So there's a huge moat here. This is a technology architecture shift that's ongoing, and we think we're early days here.
Skeptics always like to say one company's margin is another company's opportunity. When your adjusted margins are near 70%, does that still make sense?
I think ultimately, the value of a company's profitability, their cash flow, it determines, their valuation. And right now, the company has driven significant revenue growth and profitability and free cash flow, given the superiority and the differentiation of their solutions. Right, this is a full stack company driving massive infrastructure and compute and networking and software and algorithms on top of that, and services. So I know people like to talk about this as a chip company, and I am a chip analyst. Started my career there 20 plus years ago, but this is really a full infrastructure and compute and services company.
So if those enterprise dollars are going to an Nvidia, let's say, Adam, then where are they coming from? I mean, budgets are limited. And so what we saw in earnings season is some evidence that software companies, for instance, are seeing some softness, particularly subscription software companies, because spend is going to AI. How do you think about the impact, the ripple effect of all the spend going, or a lot of spend going to AI? Where does that spend come from?
I mean, so a lot of people are talking about generative AI, but within this shift, there's a shift from general computing to accelerated computing. There had been this shift from enterprise to the cloud, and this has really accelerated that shift. And so what accelerated computing is doing is changing the whole architecture that's embedded and that's existing today, about over $1 trillion. And so that's getting upgraded. So as you mentioned, there are winners and losers in any technology shift, right? You had the shift to the internet, you shift to the mobile. There are going to be winners and losers, and today's winners can be tomorrow's losers, as you point out. But so we are seeing a big shift. The software companies are getting disrupted a bit here, and there are big chip and architecture companies, in the general compute area that are seeing things changing for sure.
So what sorts of software companies are getting disrupted? I see CRM, Salesforce, is among your top holdings, Adam, and during earnings season, we did hear about some softness. Is there concern on your part that they are one of the losers, or that they are seeing some pressure because of the spend on AI?
What I would say is things are moving fast, right? So there's definitely an evolution. We are in the picks and shovels and infrastructure and compute phase of generative AI. As it relates to the budget constraints you mentioned, you are seeing companies deal with that, and budgets are tight. The economy you mentioned earlier is not particularly great, across the globe. There are challenges, and so those budgets aren't increasing, and there's a shifting of the budgets going on, and there are companies that are seeing, as you mentioned, CRM referenced that. Some other companies, recently have also seen their businesses be slower and see some of their businesses get sacrificed for spending elsewhere.
Adam, I see Apple's the third largest holding at roughly 10.8%, at least on the numbers that we have for the select technology portfolio. If you hadn't owned it this year, your performance might have been better, given it's roughly flat. I'm just curious as to how you think about Apple, particularly going into next week, when we are finally going to hear about some of their aspirations when it comes to AI.
I mean, look, David, Hindsight Capital has amazing performance, right? But we have a portfolio, and we run a lot of assets in the sense of we're trying to identify those companies early that could be winners. And as you mentioned, Apple's gone from a loser to a winner to a loser. There's been a bunch of companies on generative AI, and they are noticeably behind. They were early with Siri. I think you're going to hear some very interesting things next week. They have a massive install base. And so, I wouldn't count Apple out here at all. I think, they've been left behind clearly, as other companies have been in some respects. But I think stay tuned for next week. I think it should be interesting.